Колеги, продовжуємо робочий день. До слова запрошується речник адміністрації президента.
We continue our working day. Colonel Lysenko will inform you about the events in the east of Ukraine. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. During the last 24 hours, the enemy moved to the touchline heavy weaponry, 122mm, 152mm guns, tanks, and other armored equipment. The increased number of armed provocations on previously quiet areas do not leave any doubts that the enemy is trying to violate the ceasefire and to blame Ukrainian side in that. In Mariupolsky direction, the militants had conducted several armed provocations near Shirokin using 120mm mortars. We have no losses. The attempts of the enemy to move forward were unsuccessful. In the next direction, the militants continue active military actions near airport and along the line from Krasnogorivka to Avdiivka. The enemy is using heavy weaponry, 152mm guns. The hotspots are Pisky and Marinka. Also, the other positions near Gorlivka and Svetlodarsk were shelled at by the enemy. In Lugansk direction, there were some shootings near Shastia and Stanitsa Luganska. The enemy is firing mostly from small arms at our positions from the settlements which are along the touch line, in particular Vesela Gora and other settlements. Yesterday in ATO zone, there were 23 drones registered, including in the area above the Azov Sea. During the last 24 hours, we have no people killed, 10 were wounded, mostly because of the mortar shelling near Lugansk, which is close to Svetlodarsk. Ukraine improves its legislation, defense legislation. The Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine adopted amendments to the law on the military state regime, which defines the legal grounds for the activity of the state bodies, military commandership, and local self-governance bodies in conditions of the military situation. Ukrainian special services detained the former mayor of Zolote settlement of Lugansk region, which in May last year organized in the settlement the pseudo-referendum and was actively supporting pro-Russian bands. After liberating the settlement by ATO forces, the detained person was hiding in Mariupol. He bought several apartments and started construction of a mansion. Now this ex-mayor is detained, and in Sumy, the former militiaman from Lugansk region was detained. He was recruiting people to the bands of Lugansk People's Republic. In spring of last year, this criminal entered joined the so-called LNR. After Lysychansk was liberated, he ran away to the liberated territory of Ukraine, and besides, the special services successfully blocked the scheme of financing of illegal armed groups via international payment system using 17 electronic systems. The militants were collecting money under the disguise of the support of some civil society organizations. Among them, there were so-called Opolchenia of Lutugina, Novorossiya, and others. Ukrainian law enforcers do not allow to take their armaments outside of the ATO zone. The traffic police policemen, together with the militiamen and security service officers, stopped the vehicle at Pershatravnevska checkpoint. When examining the vehicle, they confiscated 24 boxes where there were more than 12,000 cartridges of 7.62 millimeter caliber. The rotation within ATO forces continues. The Cherkasy law enforcement servicemen returned from the ATO zone. During the month they were serving on the territory of Donetsk region, and they were helping local citizens. After the ceremonial meeting, each of them was joined with their families and friends, and they went to a 1 week holiday, after which they will again start executing their duties. The unit of Lviv law enforcers went to the zone of military actions. For many of those, this is the third or fourth rotation. The militiamen will serve in the zone of anti-terrorist operation. They will be serving near the facilities of life support for settlements, and they will execute other tasks of the commandership of ATO. Ukrainians are helping the cities which are located near the front line. The group of medical volunteers and officers brought the humanitarian assistance to the citizens of Marinka, which suffers almost every day from mortar shellings. Famous doctors from Khmelnytsk, Zhytomyr regions, Rivne and Kirovograd also provided high qualified assistance to more than 100 patients. At the same time, Ukrainian servicemen brought to the city the medicines and also food products. Also, our volunteers continue to help military. The volunteers from Rivne sent military ammunition to ATO forces, and they also received 2 new four-wheel drivers vehicles that are now in Rivne test field. Now the questions.
Fifth channel. How do you think those raised activities of the militants, what do they suggest is going on? The concentration of combat groups of militants close to the delineation line, and also very active air reconnaissance activities may suggest that they are planning offense activities. So is there any idea that they can attack us? Of course, we cannot ignore these facts, because all the forces which are deployed at the delineation line from the enemy side, all they force us to respond and counteract. Whether you respond to those statements of the militants that they wish to have their own elections in their territory. all the statements of the militants, these are the false statements. We have Minsk agreements with the signatures from all three parties. As far as I remember, in February agreements, there is a provision about elections in Donetsk and Lugansk Oblast, and this provision clearly states that the elections should be held in line with Ukrainian legislations, and any statements and ideas that they wish to have elections soon in line with their own rules, that's not true. Ukrainian party sticks with the Minsk agreement. You mentioned that there were some attacks near Vesela Gora. Could you please mention in other villages? In this case, we can speak about just one settlement. We know about, so to say, nomadic groups of militants who wander around and along the delineation line and open fire occasionally. When they try to attack our positions, we repel them and respond adequately. As for the small arms which is used for minor attacks, we do not respond to these attacks when they do not threat to our to our servicemen, but when they use more heavy weapon, we respond adequately. Thank you very much. Our next briefing will be at 1:15. Thank you.